Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris, or Velo Sews on social media. Welcome back to Sew Over 50 podcast on Sew Organised Style, and you're listening to the Top 20 Countdown.
Now, what you have to do with your hashtags is make sure that they are key words.
So this is the audio version of a live chat with Sandy Back, Senior Editor of Sew Over 50. Her first two podcasts about hashtags that were recorded for the podcast back in 2020 are numbers 1 and 2 in the Top 20 Countdown. On Instagram Live, Sandy updates us about the best way to use hashtags. The video version of this live is now available on Sew Organised Style's YouTube channel, plus it's available on the Instagram accounts for both Sew Organised Style and also Sew Over 50. Let's get started. Hi Sandy.
Hi there.
I've got you on live today is because hashtags, the two episodes that you recorded with me in 2020, are numbers 1 and 2 in the Top 20 Countdown. So thank you so much.
Gosh, I made a top 10 chart. Yeah. Well done, us.
You've done such a good job over the years in keeping us all together so that we understand what's going on with Instagram, and you teach us all the time, and you do it without any fuss. It's just ongoing. So thank you.
It's the innate time ahead.
I know that at some point the live will sort of cut in and out in Queensland because of the weather there at the moment. Isn't that right?
Yes, it's teeming rain at the moment. Is it going in and out, Maria?
Oh, just a little bit, but I think we can do this. I think we can.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just so people know, on the 6th of August, I started the Top 20 Countdown, and it was all the episodes on Sew Organised Style that were 15,000 and up. That's a really good indicator that people actually want to listen to people who sew on a podcast. So that's really good.
It's great.
And I'm really thankful that you're here today to give us an update on what we should know about hashtags, because a lot has changed since 2020.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Let's hope we can cover it all. I really would like to get the message out about our tags for 2025. We have already 281,000 uses of Sew Over 50. It's very difficult to find people without chronological order now. So our tags for 2025 are Sew Over 50, Jan, Sew Over 50 Feb. So really it is just the first three letters of every month. So no year where people get confused with 24, 2024, anything. It's just the first three letters. So that's the first thing to get the message out today. So that's number 1.
So there's no need to put the year at the end of it. It's just Sew Over 50 and the first three letters of the month.
Yep.
In the new year, it'll be Jan.
Jan. So Sew Over 50 Jan is the first to be used on January 1. Gosh, we'll be around there soon, won't we?
We will.
We're going to have some time off.
Hashtags still relevant to us on Instagram?
Look, they are still relevant, but they're not as effective. So we have to learn to work around those because there are other factors in play. But hashtags still are used for sorting posts into the criteria that the person wants to post. So that's still very important. But there is another factor that's entered, which is called search engine optimization. Now, SEO, they call it. And if you look it up, you'll see that everywhere. Instagram uses it a little bit differently. Now, one of the things that hashtags are used for is they use those hashtags as part of their SEO, search engine optimization. Right. Hashtags are important. You need to keep them in your text below the post, because we have always said, if you haven't got room, put them in the comments below. They still work in the comments below, but they're not found by the search engine optimization, so that it's not beefed up in the feed or on the explore page. So you need to keep your hashtags in your text session. If you haven't got enough room, look, put them down below, or just put a couple up there that are relevant. But you have to realise that the hashtags aren't as super powerful, but they're used by the search engine, and they still go into the sorting boxes for where you want to put it. So hashtag me, mate.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know that they're still relevant, and if we do put them into the comments, it's not going to be a priority search. It'll be more in the caption itself.
Yep.
Yep.
And you'll probably find that when it does go to the hashtag, it's not going to appear near the top because it hasn't been part of the search engine criteria. That's an interesting one to take note of. And that's taken precedence now since the hashtags finished in chronological order in, I think, June last year. The search engine optimization is now the most important part of looking at. Now, what you have to do with your hashtags is make sure that they are key words, so that if it's sewing, which you probably wouldn't use because it's over 1 million, but the words that you need to use have to be pertinent to the post. Okay, you don't put "I love cats" if you've got a sewing post. You have to really use pertinent words. Okay, so every post might need a little bit of tweaking with the hashtags.
It's got to be relevant, even if you, like you said, even if you do like cats, that's wonderful. But if it doesn't fit the post, all right.
I've got a few useful tips for people. Instagram is saying that 3 to 8 tags. I've seen people say up to 15. You can use 30.
Yeah.
I said in the original one that I think that looks rather needy. You don't need that many. If you look at getting your pertinent keywords, search engine optimization words, and keep them in that text that you have there below the post. So with those, the SEO narrows down what your post is pertinent to or about. But there are 4 categories that you can do for your key words. Right. Now, one is content. So the first thing you're looking at with your post, with your hashtag, it might be DIY jacket, hashtag DIY jacket, or it might be hashtag SO50 jackets, like one of our tags, and maybe a couple of those. And then the next one is your niche. So the niche is perhaps me made, hashtag DIY sewing, something like that. So that's another couple of tags that you can find. What you need to make sure of is don't muck around with DIY jacket DIY, because it gets confusing for the search engine optimization then. So one tag about it, not 2 mucking around and sorting out the words. The next one is the audience. So you need to capture your audience in those hashtags as well. It's probably going to be sew over 50, and then our month, which will be sew over 50 Jan. And that's capturing your audience of people who are sewing in that month and the over 50 community who are sewing. And it might be your audience which is on the bandwagon like us, sew over ageism, or aging without barriers. So that can go into that audience as well. Like millennial sewing, people can use that. Anything that, but just be aware of what your audience is. And then the next one is location. Now, there are people who do use location, but Instagram puts a lot of store in location. So you were looking at Canada sews, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. And what did you come up with?
There were thousands of Canada sews, so you would get lost. You would be competing in something that had thousands, whereas if a hashtag had hundreds, you've got a better chance of being seen.
Yeah. One thing is location does make a difference, and the other thing is put the location on your post as well, just up above there.
Yeah.
So you might want to put, I use Brisbane sews or Brisbane spoolettes, one of those, and that gives an indication where I am, and then use the location above the post as well. The location is important. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of their advertising, you see, for the business and so forth, where they start pushing things around the world and what posts feature where, because certainly what we see in Australia is probably not what is shown anywhere else, in particular languages. So we've got content. That's number one. And that will probably be your DIY or whatever. Your niche, which is going to be maybe me made, I sew my wardrobe. And then the next one is your audience. Bear in mind who your audience are. And then the next one is your location. So what location do you use? Sydney Sews?
I usually just put the location at the top. So it might be Sydney, or it might be Sydney Olympic Park, just for people to see that there are different places in Sydney.
That you actually leave your sewing room.
Something like that.
The other thing is about location, is a little bit of a spin-off here, is that you find people in your area. So you can actually, connect with people in your city. You don't have to say what street you're living in, but if you see like Portland Sews or whatever, you think, oh, okay, the people in my area that you could connect with. And you could often connect with seeing what events are on as well. So the location tag's a good one to remember. The other one that I wanted to talk about was, I said the don't overstuff with the similar tags, because that just confuses it. But Also, avoid those oversaturated tags like hashtag so. No one will ever find you. And one of the things when you're posting is you do like some people to see your post. Use ones that are probably the 5 to 10,000, 10,000 to 50,000. They're good hashtags. Too small, no one's going to see it anyway except the few hundred who use it. Keep in mind, experiment with some little ones, mid-range. Stay away from the huge ones because they're a waste of time.
And then I think one of the last things we wanted to look at were how hashtags and private accounts, what's the relationship there when a private account uses a hashtag?
It's bad news.
Yeah.
If you have a private account, hashtags don't make any difference because the only people who can see your hashtags are the people who follow you, that you allow to follow you. So it's pointless. If one of your followers is looking up, say, V1953, and they go to V1953, they might see you there, but they're already following you anyway. And another off-spin of having a private account is you cannot enter challenges either because even though you use the hashtag, you can't be seen.
Yeah.
So I noticed the recent one with A Gift to November by So Like Dottie. She allowed email entries, and I thought that was fabulous because we've always recommended at some stage if you thought of just having your own sewing account and then a private personal account. You don't have to reveal yourself or anything like that, but at least you can join in the fun of challenges if you were thinking that, because you have to have a public account to enter contests, competitions, challenges, all that sort of thing. So that's the downside of having a private account. But with a private account, you're in complete control, and that's probably how you want it to be. So that's fine. You just need to know that hashtags don't operate when you have a private account.
Okay. And that way people who have a private account because they're new to Instagram understand that their privacy is kept to the people that they want to know who they are.
And only follow them.
Yeah, and only follow them, which is fine, you know.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and we've talked about this before, people who are nurses, doctors or whatever who have a need to keep their privacy, it's great. But a lot of we have quite a few who only do header shots or flat lays or whatever. So they're public accounts, but you wouldn't know them if you walk down the street. Whereas if you do walk down the street and you're public, sometimes people say, "Are you?"
Yeah.
And they'll recognise you. Yeah. So that's the difference.
I've had instances out of Frocktails where someone will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so and so, but you'll never see me because of ABC." It's like, that's okay. I'm really glad to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can connect, and then often you'll follow anyway. So that's the downside of the private account. The other thing I want to do was make sure that your hashtags are relevant to the post, and also make sure that you look out for those keywords. So the keywords that the SEO will be looking for, and I think you'll be getting more success with your hashtags. The other one is it doesn't matter whether you use capitals or not. Okay, camel case. Now we advocate strongly for camel case, and you will see all our posts have that. Camel case is where every new word has a capital letter. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. It doesn't affect the search engine, but it does affect reading, and people who use readers who have a visual impairment, it picks up the words for that as well. But even for us, I mean, it's so much easier reading when you can see the words like you've got the capital letter, you can read it out much quicker. So we do advocate for the camel case, which is a great one. There's also Pascal case, which is exactly the same, except they don't capitalise the first letter. So don't get confused. It's the same horse, same name, really. Or same camel.
at the end of the day, it's if you use the capital letters, it allows people to read that hashtag quickly. They don't have to sit there going, now, what does that really mean? Yeah, it's all one word.
And I keep my hashtags in notes. I think that's great. And you just pick up and put in what you are needing, take some out or whatever. And I'm not typing them all the time because that would take too much time, too much time on Instagram anyway. So I'm not going to do all those again. And then just take out the ones you want. I'd be recommending 3 to 15. Have your tags saved, have them in camel case, be aware of the keywords, be aware of what your aim is for the post, and bear in mind those things, your content, your niche, your audience and your location. And I think we pretty well have it nailed.
That's great. There was a lot of information that you gave us in 2020 because we did it over 2 episodes, and everybody always went straight to those episodes. So that was really great. Thank you for giving us an update about how we can
okay.
use hashtags to get us through the end of this year and make a really fresh start in 2025.
It will. So we'll just remind them again. So over 50 Jan, Jan. Oh gosh, I hope it's just as simple. After this year, it was a nightmare. And you will find a lot of people are changing hashtags just to make it simpler now for people to access. So I think we've pretty well covered everything, have we, Maria?
This live will be on Sober 50's account, on So Organised Styles account, and I'll also be posting it onto YouTube so that if you want to just watch certain parts of it or do it at double speed, you can. So that'll be on the podcast YouTube account, and I'll also put it out as audio. So thank you so much.
That's great. That'll be really, really useful on all those platforms. Ali Steady Stay says this is really useful. Don't know how you keep up with it all, but glad you do. I think there's a couple of nerds here.
Yeah.
Gosh, we try. Thanks very much, Maria. And look, if anyone has any questions anytime about anything about Instagram, please just DM us. We just love helping, don't we? We sort of like do a little tick and think, oh, there's another little happy customer. So yeah, we really do love making your experience with Instagram a positive one. And sometimes it's just minor. Sometimes, we will go away and do our research because we don't know the answer, but we can ask around. So look, thanks very much, Maria.
Oh, thank you too, Sandy. And people, don't forget that at any point in time, if you're looking at a post on Sober 50 or on the podcast and you put a comment, we'll respond to it because we'll find it because you've made a comment. So thank you for keeping in contact with us as well.
That's wonderful. Yes, it's getting so much harder to find people, but yep, we'll get there. We do try. Okay, thanks, Maria.
Thank you too. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of So Over 50 podcast on So Organised Style was produced by me, Maria Thea Harris, with permission of Sandy, sound by bensound.com. Many thanks for the ongoing support of this podcast Patreon contributors. Their ongoing support enables me to develop these podcasts for free, both audio and video. Make sure you direct message Sandy and the editors at the Sober 50 account on Instagram to contribute to their ongoing posts and challenges that the team promotes to the sewing community of over 50,000 followers. You can subscribe to So Organised Style podcast, spelled with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Sober 50 archive on So Organised Style podcast. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.